Hey everyone. All right. Welcome to week 12. We are getting into the argumentative essay number 3. And this week we're going to talk about how to come up with your topic and to utilize research for your essay. So let's see here. Okay. So we're discussing using research to support argumentative writing. Now this week is week 12, and you are going to need to decide on a topic this week and begin gathering research. I'm going to go over where to find some research and what to do with that research, and then how to create an outline. If you write and post an outline, then that will be an extra credit assignment for you, okay? Because I'm highly suggesting that you need to create an outline. It's an essential part of good writing. Writing an outline is essentially the same as writing down the directions of where you're going, so you know how to get there. The fastest and most efficient way, okay? There's nothing worse than going around in circles, and an outline helps you to not do that. Okay, so you need to pick a topic for this paper, okay? An argumentative topic is one with many differing perspectives. It is not an informational topic. It's not an absolute topic. It's not one that is an absolute fact, all right? You need to pick a topic that has multiple sides to it. And while there isn't any definitive point of view, you must accept and argue one. You have to pick one of those perspectives on your topic and argue that one perspective. You are not trying to explain all the different perspectives. This is not a compare and contrast essay, which you just did, okay? You can't be on the fence for this paper. You have to make, and it doesn't mean it really reflects who you are as a person. It doesn't mean that that this is an existential presentation of who you are. Okay, you might even in real life not agree with it, but for the sake of the paper, you have to pick a side and argue it. And you need to pick a topic that you're interested in. After reading a lot of these compare contrast essays, I can just tell that the topics are just not very interesting. And when you're not really interested in the topic, you don't write a lot. You won't write a lot. You won't really put in the time and effort, or you won't have much to say about it. So you got to pick a topic that you believe in, or that you think is that you have something to say about it. Okay. So for example, I mean, a great one right now, considering where we are. Let me adjust my screen because you can't really see my screen here. Let's see if I can share from a bigger share screen. Let's see. Okay, so good topics would be the Atlanta Braves will beat the Astros in the World Series because they are a better team. Your whole paper could be about baseball. It can be about what makes the Atlanta Braves a better team. Or you could be a trader and write about why you think the Astros will beat the Braves in the World Series. And you can write your paper arguing why one team is better than the other team, okay? And you can pick but whatever points you make, you have to be the right paragraphs about those things, okay? So it is a comparative analysis. You would be comparing the two teams and explaining why one is going to win, okay? So that would actually be a very good essay to write. Let's see. And then you could also write about maybe, despite people arguing the unconstitutionality of COVID precautions, as in mask wearing, vaccines, etc., they are actually as American as apple pie, meaning these COVID precautions are very American. There are people who believe differently. So there is no absolute truth about whether it is abusing one's rights to make them wear masks outside and these kind of things. So if you believe one way or the other on this topic, you can write about it. Okay. Next, another topic, the movie. One second. You can also do film analysis. I'm listening to this podcast right now that is arguing that the movie A Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is a subversive queer film. And they go through this whole podcast analyzing the different parts of A Nightmare on Elm Street 2 and talking about all of the symbolism in it and what it means and how it's very much a queer horror film, even though that's never been stated. And the writers of A Nightmare on Elm Street 2 have never stated that as fact, okay, because this is just an interpretation of the film. So you could provide a whole interpretation of a film for your paper and argue a way of looking at that film differently. I mean, there's many people who believe Moana is it's a Disney movie, that it is about sexual assault and surviving sexual assault. And so you can take a film that doesn't have a definitive explanation to it, and then you can provide that interpretation in your paper. You could write about how America should do more to protect the working rights and benefits of female workers who have children. You could talk about how America is really behind in comparison to other countries that provide more benefits to women. So you can do like cultural analysis. You can do analysis is based on race, immigration, gender, identity. Okay. You could write a paper about your favorite author, as long as it's not obvious. So you could say Stephen King is a better realistic fiction writer than he is at writing horror or sci-fi. That's a very controversial statement because he's known as the master of horror, but you could argue that he is better at not writing horror. These are not topics I'm actually telling you to write about, but these are examples of things that you could discuss. Okay, you could discuss sports. You could discuss American policies. You can discuss film. You could discuss society. You could discuss writers or musicians that you know, as long as what you're stating is not obvious. It's an opinion, and that you write like 1,200 words to argue this. Okay. Now here's some like bad topics. These are things that like would not be good topics for an argumentative essay. Explaining how a combustible engine works. This is expository. Argumentative essays argue a point. They don't explain things that are facts. Okay. You can use expository strategy in your argumentative essay if you're trying to explain how something is in a way that most people don't realize. That's different. You would not write about how Stephen King is a horror writer because that's too obvious. He's classified as a horror writer. That's already known. So we're not doing known or expository topics. We are doing argumentative topics that don't have one specific side. All right. So once you pick a topic, you're going to do some research, okay? And the school wants you to use Galileo and different the research library to do your research, but those don't always translate over into real life. And part of the good research skills is knowing that even in real life, how to be able to conduct research and how to come across, how to find good sources for your perspective. So instead, I want to urge you to use internet sources. And here are some respectable sources that you could use for this, okay? Any news source that's a part of the Associated Press or uses authors from the Associated Press. The Associated Press is just like a big old bank of journalists, and they write articles that other newspapers will pick up to fill in extra space in their publications. So like the Atlanta Journal-Constitution will publish writers. Oh, hold on. So the Atlanta Journal-Constitution will use articles written by people who just work for the Associated Press. Associated Press is not one specific publisher. They just have writers. They pay writers to write content and then try to sell those articles to other publications, okay? But the Associated Press, they have their standards of ethics that they abide by. And so it's a very rigorous editorial process. So you can expect high quality work from any Associated Press reporter. The New York Times, Vulture, The Atlantic, Slate, The Guardian, The Economist, Forbes, The Washington Times, Psychology Today, New York Magazine. Okay, these are all things that you could newspaper, magazine, journals that you could use. Find articles published in those that are of high quality. Most things that come from a .org or .gov or .edu website, especially .edu, that's a school website. Okay, .gov is a government agency. Okay, here's a do not use list. Don't use Wikipedia as a source. Don't use dictionary.com as a source. Don't use online encyclopedias as a source. Don't use .com organizations. Don't use Fox News or CNN News. They tend to lean too far to the left or to the right. And then when in doubt, email me a link to the website and I can verify, okay? So if you're not sure if something is from a fair audience, or I'm sorry, from a fair writer, send it to me and I'll let you know. All right, so I'm gonna go over the two types of research that you can use, all right, that you should be trying to find for your paper, okay? One is called supportive research. This is research that directly supports your analysis because the author shares your perspective on what you're talking about, okay? So this is like very specific related sources. So for example, let's say your thesis is that a lithium-based source of energy still creates a comparable level of pollution, environmental side effects, and economic inequality, just as the consumption of oil. So like in California, they just passed this, all small motors must be operated by batteries, not by gas. And so this thesis is saying, well, lithium-based, battery supplied energy is just as bad as oil. And so then you could have found like this source, all right, on Forbes website. This guy, Robert Rapier, says he wrote an article called Environmental Implications of Lead Acid and Lithium Ion Batteries. So this article is about lithium batteries and the thesis is on lithium batteries. So then you would find a quote from the article that you'd want to put in your outline. And your outline is essentially just you laying out your main ideas and finding quotes from research and putting those quotes in the research in your outline. So like you would maybe copy and paste this quote from the article. Further, these metals that go into lithium batteries must be mined, and there can be pollution associated with this activity, as there is with lead mining. In addition to the pollution potential, much of the criticism surrounding the environmental impact of lithium-ion batteries have been in relation to child labor in cobalt mines in the Dominican Republic or Congo. So your thesis is on lithium energy is still bad for the environment. We found an article published on Forbes about lithium batteries and how they're bad for communities. Okay, That is supportive research. That research directly supports your thesis. Okay. Then there's topical research. This is research that indirectly supports your analysis by applying the research to your topic. It's not so much about exactly what you're writing about, but it's definitely related on topic to what you're discussing. So once again, we have the same thesis. Lithium-based source of energy still creates a comparable level of pollution, environmental side effects, and economic inequality as the consumption of oil. Lithium-based is as bad as oil. So for this, we found an article published on the MIT website, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which is a reputable source because they're a very good university. And on their website, we found this quote: environmental hazards are present during every step of the open pit mining process. Hard rock mining exposes rock that has lain unexposed for geological eras. When crushed, these rocks expose radioactive elements such as asbestos-like minerals and metallic dust. During separation, residual rock slurries, which are mixtures of pulverized rock and liquid, are produced as tailings. Toxic and radioactive elements from these liquids can leak into bedrock if not properly contained. Okay, this quote is not about lithium necessarily. This is ever talk about lithium energy, but it does deal with how lithium is found, which is open pit mining. So the fact that this is about open pit mining still relates to the topic of lithium-based energy. Okay, so you would be applying this research to what you're trying to talk about. All right, so what you want to do is you want to outline your essay by creating a list of quotes. You want to divide your essay into the points you want to make. Each point is a paragraph. And then you want to find many quotes that support your points. So like on my sheet of paper, I would write like the Roman numeral 1, and I would write my thesis. So let's say the thesis for this paper is America won't become a more progressive country until women reach equality in the workplace and in the home. That's the argument that's being made. Women need to find equality in the workplace and in the home. And that way, that's the only way we'll become more progressive. So now I find research that directly or indirectly supports that. The first point I want to make, so this would be like my topic for my first body paragraph: women in the workplace. Okay, and I found this quotes from a writer named Fox that says 34% of men working remotely with children at home said they received a promotion, versus 9% of women in the same situation. So this quote shows that there's still inequality for women in the workplace. Because even when men and women are facing the same situation, men are still getting more promotions. Number 2 would be my second body paragraph that I want to write about, which would be women in the household. And in this, I found a quote that says, working mothers have shouldered the majority of the burden around the home. So even though mothers who have jobs, they're still doing most of the work at home. Okay. So then my third body paragraph would be about how women's health compared to more progressive countries. And I found this quote from the Commonwealth Fund that says that US women report the least positive experiences among the 11 countries studied. They have the greatest burden of chronic illness, highest rates of skipping needed healthcare, the highest rates of skipping needed healthcare because of cost, difficulty affording their healthcare, and are least satisfied with their care. So my last one is kind of a comparison and contrast between America and more progressive countries. Okay, and how we pride ourselves on being the best, yet we are not the best for our women. So then I might need to have more. This paper is supposed to be about 12 pages long. So you need to have plenty of, not 12 pages, I'm sorry, no, 1,200 words, which is about 4 pages. Okay. I was like, wow, 12 pages, that's a real long, no, about 4 pages. And so you would probably need more than 5 paragraphs to write this paper. Okay. So you need to add many topics to talk about in your paper. And so as you are writing your outline, which is just having your thesis and then having the points you want to make in each of your main paragraphs, and then having a quote or two associated with your topic, with your claims, you need to be keeping track of the web addresses for your sources that you're using, because we will be creating a works cited page next week. Okay. So like I would just, copy and paste the actual web address for my sources, so I don't lose those. Okay, because I'm going to show you next week how to create a works cited page based on the web addresses, because we're going to use easybib.com, which is super easy. As long as you have your web addresses, it's just going to be copying and pasting. Super, super easy. So make sure you keep track of the web addresses. All right. So for extra credit, since I want you to write an outline anyways, if you submit it, then it can replace a previous 0 or a low grade on a previous classwork grade. Okay. And it's just located. Let's see if I have internet. Let's see here. Share screen. Let's see, this is, if you go to lessons, go down to argument of essay, go down to extra credit, argument of essay outline. If you put it here, submit it here, then you're good. Your outline literally just needs to look like, I'll show you. Oh. Let's see. Where is it? Okay. This is the outline that I just had in my PowerPoint. Okay. And my thesis, and my claim for essentially my claim for my topic, what I'm going to discuss in each of my body paragraphs. This just looks wonky because I copy and pasted it from PowerPoint. Okay. But then I have my quotes that I'm using for my paper from each of my sources. Okay. Which is what you need to have also. So it's literally just a list of what you're going to discuss in each of your body paragraphs. And then what source are you going to use to support that? Okay. So like that's like my 4th paragraph. I'm going to talk about that. So, and then I would just keep adding more topics if I feel like I need to talk more about things. Okay. So if you submit something like this with proper MLA heading, then you'll get extra credit. Okay. MLA heading. But you got to come up with a topic, and you guys start doing some research to support your topic. All right. All right. Email me if you have any questions about this, if you don't understand what's happening. All righty. I guess I'll see you in the email world. Bye-bye.